Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dear Doctors. I'm Dr. Suzanne Pelka, and this is Dr. Christina Stein, coming to you from Los Angeles.
Welcome back. So today we are going to talk about wetness and the idea that wet under the hood doesn't necessarily mean it's good.
Right. And so women are often worried about how lubricated they are. Men are often worried about how lubricated their partners are or not. So we have a perfect letter sent to us by one of you, and Christina's going to read it.
And then we'll explore this. So, dear doctors, I've been dating this girl for a couple of months now, and I think she enjoys being sexual with me. But even though she acts like she's into it, she never gets that wet. And I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. How can I do a better job turning her on and getting her wet? Peter from Alaska. Well, Peter, as Dr. Pelka mentioned at the beginning of this, the truth is that wetness is not necessarily a sign of arousal or enjoyment. Some women could be really into it and be totally dry, and other women could be very wet and not enjoy it at all.
Right.
So it's something called arousal in concordance, where your body doesn't necessarily match your mind. And oftentimes, for you guys out there, sometimes you could be really into a girl or a partner and you can't get an erection. So your body doesn't cooperate. And a lot of times for women, it's the same thing. Like we can get very mentally involved and it's harder to get aroused, or it's harder for our body to respond.
And certain times of the month, you'll be wetter than other times of the month. So It could be related to hormones. It could be related to menstrual cycle. It could be related to stress and anxiety.
Yes, definitely. So just don't use it as your determining factor for whether or not she likes it or not. The same way it would suck if you lost your erection and she decided you weren't into it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can't use lubricants. In fact, it's such a great idea to always have something handy because it does kind of put a damper on things if there starts to build up friction and it's not as pleasurable when things are rubbing together in a rough way.
Absolutely. And women can get sore if they're not lubricated enough. And there's no shame of using any number of different lubricants. I like the ones that come in the single.
Yeah, keeps them fresher and,
you're not going to contaminate it with germs, or it's not going to go bad if you just use one per sexual experience.
Or multiple.
Yeah, actually, or multiple, but usually one goes a long way. So
yes,
but these are also good ones.
And that's a good point, actually, that like sometimes there's a water-based lube, and that lubricant you tend to have to add more and more as you go along because it starts to lose its like viscosity. But if you use a silicone lube, it stays pretty slippery, but you don't want to use too much.
Right.
However, they also have hybrids where they're mixed together, which is often an ideal choice.
Right.
One thing to think about if you are picking out a lube and you're going to have it in your nightstand or just have it available is you want to pick something that doesn't have glycerin or any kind of preservatives. Right. Glycerin is terrible for your body's pH, and it ends up bringing things into the mix that you may not want in the mix.
Yes.
So definitely glycerin-free lubes, but have them on hand. And you know what? Normalize it by offering it or just having it available.
Just to have it right next to your bedside, right there. So let it be no shame. Put some behind the couch, whatever you need. Have it available, and don't
have it in your pocket.
Let her feel ashamed that she's not wet enough.
Yes.
Because just like if you're not hard enough or big enough or whatever, you don't want that to be discussed, especially not in the moment.
Yes, and it's so easy to get in your head. So everything you can do to stay out of your head and help her stay out of hers, that's the key.
Yeah, and of course the same goes if you're a same-sex couple or whatever. Oh, yeah. This is just, across the board kindness to have lubrication there. Yes. Gay men sometimes really like this one is Uber Lube. I think this is a silicone base. It's very good for toys.
Very clean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Astroglide, a staple.
Astroglide sometimes doesn't have glycerin free, so you have to specifically find that though. because that's a big deal, I think. But Astrodyne is something you get at CVS or Rite Aid or whatever.
Yeah. So, and then if you're trying to conceive, maybe you want a brand called Pre-Seed because you want to make sure that it doesn't interfere with sperm motility, lifespan, etc.
Yes.
Anyway.
But I think ultimately the main point here is that don't use the wetness to gauge how much she's into it or not. So that's not really a way to measure your success in this area. And just remember that putting a focus on wetness does make her feel more self-conscious. And then she really isn't going to get into it because she's going to be so worried about not being wet enough for you and that you're thinking that and that you're thinking she's not into it. And so just eliminate all that, have the lube next to you, and have a great time.
Very good. Okay, we'll see you down the road.
See you next time.
Thanks so much.